first guest here today, the man himself, Toly, the co-founder of Solana.
Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me.
My man, I love this. We got everything under control here. we got wires. We got my man. All right. Well, appreciate your patience here with us, and you're also getting blasted in the eye with sunshine, but that's because you chose Abu Dhabi, baby. It's the land of the sun, the land of the sun.
Sunshine is great.
We like sunshine. All right. Well, I wanted to start out like I think we saw a tweet on the Solana account of you in a recreated kitchen, but we go right back to the beginning of this. You sat down, you're in your kitchen, and here we are 5 years later for Breakpoints.
Biggest breakpoint ever.
Biggest Breakpoint.
7,000 people.
What the hell does that feel like, man?
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. Like I think what's been interesting to me is that this is maybe the only time of the year where I get to think about, the difference year over year of how much the ecosystem has grown. Because normally day to day, we're fighting our competitors, we're fighting each other, like we're arguing with engineers, and it's like everything is very small and incremental. But as soon as I landed here and I kind of walked into the stage this morning and everything was empty, I was like, oh, wow. There's so many companies here, so many projects, a lot of stuff happened since last year. It's wild.
I mean, what feels like the biggest change from last year? Not just Breakpoint, I guess.
Yeah,
as a whole.
Yeah, I've kind of said this kind of theory before. I think a lot of technologies start with the punks and then the hoodies and then the suits. So I think this entire industry is kind of going from hoodies to suits now, which means it's maturing. It's actually becoming part of daily life, part of daily finance. We're going to stop calling it DeFi and TradFi. It's just all going to be finance. Mm-hmm. So we're seeing that kind of early stages, but basically this kind of really rapidly accelerating adoption curve for crypto to be mainstream. It's pretty that. When I started Solana, I thought it was going to happen much, much faster. And then halfway through the ups and downs and kind of building it, I was like, oh, man, this is never going to happen. But, yeah, I think we're definitely moving in that direction now.
Well, I feel like so much of crypto Twitter feels like it's still never going to happen. And I think it's sort of the shift between the hoodies to the suits that's making many people feel uncomfortable with it. Like the early opportunity and advantage isn't there, and yet they don't quite know how to make sense of what's coming next. How do you sort of contextualize that shift in a bigger picture?
I think you need to kind of, be a lot more product focused, more revenue focused, honestly, to be honest. Is like just things are more serious. And I think like all the things that we had dozens of experiments on that didn't get traction earlier, like a few years ago, just like with the internet, you had 2001 cycle, you had a bajillion companies that just weren't possible at that time because internet penetration wasn't big enough. Mm-hmm. But all these companies now exist. And a lot of those ideas are now, $10, $100 billion companies. So we're going through that same phase. We're going through that stage where you're seeing early stage of industry maturity, and a lot of the cypherpunk ideas that people tried failed because we just didn't have enough penetration. But I think it's actually time to go back and revisit everything that people tried 5 years ago and be like, okay, maybe now's the time to go try this again with a new spin.
What is the web bands of crypto?
I think it's NFTs, honestly. Like, yeah, I think I think we went through this like really manic phase of NFTs being key to decentralized media and IP and all these other things to bubble and then burst and then the grind. And I think we're very deep in the grind with the NFTs. And I think my hope, I'm always a huge fan of NFTs. So my hope is we start seeing like some real recovery and new business models and new stuff that actually works come out.
Timeline's loving that.
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll see.
How are you conceptualizing the big opportunity today? So institutions are coming. Some of them are launching their own chains. Like, what does the huge opportunity over maybe the next few year time span look like for a general purpose chain like Solana?
So like the biggest change that is like really hard to wrap my head around is that's clearly happening is stablecoin adoption. Mm-hmm. We're going to get to $1 trillion worth of stablecoins issued relatively soon, and then to 10 trillion. And I think that is going to flip finance on its head. Like global finance is going to transform. So there's a bajillion businesses you can build there that could become very massive companies that will make current incumbents very uncomfortable. You know, I think if those incumbents don't transform their businesses. So I think now if you're it's boring. Payments is boring, but like if you're in finance and payments, this is your time to shine. Go build and yeah.
We were very much not interested in stablecoins, and then got very interested in it as the competitive dynamics
Yep.
started to emerge. And I think this sort of idea of, you know, Stripe and Arc and Tempo, everything coming out. So I'm curious, is there shifts that you're making to your strategy to sort of given this new corporate blockchain resurgence?
For us, it's always been the same kind of goal: increase bandwidth, reduce latency, so make the chain cheaper and faster and better to use. And the use case we've always targeted is trading, because if you can make it work for trading, payments is free. Like it's a free side effect. It means you've succeeded in enough throughput to where you don't even have to think about payments as a use case from an engineering kind of capacity perspective. So for us, for the engineering team at least, the story is always the same. How do I make it faster? How do I make it cheaper?
I mean, a conversation we've been fascinated with recently is just, you know, what makes tokens valuable, especially within the context of L1s. We've had people calling for a return to fundamentals. So very curious how you're thinking about value accrual to the Solana token, or, you know, institutions come, like what, how does that value flow to Solana or Sol?
I think, you know, we didn't know how any of the stuff was going to work when we launched. And honestly, nobody did in the industry. And I think
still don't, man.
no, I think we got lucky with that. Proof of stake networks have this very natural ability to capture value from block production.
Right.
So the more stake you have, the more blocks you make, the more block fees or revenues you can gain from that. That is really clear revenue accrual to a decentralized network.
Yep.
Which means that we're going to have valuable things that are decentralized. As opposed to maybe valuable things with a lot of price but no value accrual.
Right.
And I think that is like a remarkable outcome. That's great. I think the market cap of crypto, you know, is obviously going to go up, like as a whole, and eventually it has to be split by revenues. Like I think that this is fundamentally how I believe as well. How we get there is path dependent. It's going to be a, you know, knife fight for it. But I think the teams that will survive are the ones that are competing to win, you know, the whole thing.
How do you contextualize how big blockchain, like the biggest blockchains get, like over the next decade?
There's 500 trillion worth of assets in the world, and if you even take everything that's been tokenized, including all the stable coins that across all the chains, I think we're at like 0.1% of the way there. So this is how big things can get.
I'm interested in what you think the biggest risk is to Solana not winning.
That people kind of get complacent on, you know, on any part of it. I think you need to be really strong on product development, really strong on taking risk on new ideas and iterating and stuff like that. And like really strong on like onboarding ordinary folks or retail or marketing, like all these things that I think as soon as you slow down on any one of those, your competitor may get ahead of you. And the way I always thought of it is, this is kind of the biggest problem of being a founder is in a competitive space is there's 100 competitors that you're competing with. They will, you know, they can all make different decisions and blindly just go as fast as they can. And 99 of them will fail, but one of them will just get lucky and make the right decisions. And if they make them faster than you, you're not going to win.
So I am very curious, yeah. Like you how would you approach competing with Solana today?
So I think we got lucky when we launched. It was, I would say like 2020 was still like an opportunity to launch a general purpose chain and kind of see what happens. Nobody knew what PMF would look like. And you had just really the basic semblance of DeFi working. I think it's much harder now because now not only you're competing with Ethereum, you're also competing with Solana and Solana's competitors and all these newfound projects. And I think the best path to actually compete is to start product first, get users, and then generalize. And you see some success there, but again, even there is just a knife fight, because any product with revenues in crypto, as soon as they get a little bit of traction, a dozen competitors pop up.
Copy paste.
Not even copy paste. People innovate over the same idea, and they actually do. That innovation drives the industry forward. It's just as soon as a business model works, everyone hones in on it. Oh wow, like those guys are getting revenues. We need to go and copy and make sure it's part of our like integration and everything.
Yeah, so there are obviously a lot of product categories that Solana is very, very strong in, but I'm interested in which ones you think you guys are kind of playing catch up in, and maybe putting a call out for builders to come and build and go after the big opportunities within.
I think Issuance Ethereum is clearly the lead in terms of how many assets have been issued, and I would say it is the de facto, like if you're going to issue an asset, you go to Ethereum first. I want Solana to be first or second in that decision making, and I think the key way that we can outcompete or at least capture more value from Issuance is to focus on assets with velocity. So if you look at like USDC, I think all of the volume of settled USDC on Solana is more than 2x of all the other chains combined, even though the total issued on Solana is much smaller than Ethereum. So that's an opportunity. You may not win on the total issuance, but you may find the niche where you can capture the most value.
So we have the pleasure of working with a bunch of different ecosystems and teams and foundations pretty deeply. I would say Solana has a very unique approach to the organizational structure that you've built here. And I think it maybe people get to experience it, but they don't get to see a lot of the details behind it. I'm curious sort of what is the strategy or the mental model you've applied to building out the organization?
Have you heard of the Peter principle?
What's that?
You don't want to be promoted to a level where you're incompetent.
Yeah.
So I've just refused to take on roles where I would have to be like a global lead, because I would not be competent at that. So I think naturally myself, like anytime I see an opportunity for a founder to take the lead, I just try to unblock him and accelerate him, because I don't want to be the person who's on the hook for everything. It's both out of like survival, and I also think it's closer to the true ethos of decentralization. So the folks at the foundation are crushing it without my help. They built all of this without any input of me.
It's insane.
Yeah,
insane.
So it's awesome to see them just take complete ownership of this vision and execute. But from that, you start, you go from that to decentralizing every aspect, every product, and every part of the network itself. Every validator is a small business that my job is to unblock them, is to figure out a way where they can get more growth, they can build better products and stuff like that. So we've always thought of it, instead of like us having any control over anything, is find a founder, unblock him, then just let him run.
As you think about growing maybe 10x from here, do you think you need to 10x the culture of Solana or the affinity of Solana, or do you think we're kind of entering this installation phase where the next wave of users won't really care about the blockchain that they're operating on?
Everyone always says this kind of like we need to make the UX so great that you don't know what chain you're on, but none of those products have succeeded. So, and even I kind of had that initial kind of instinct. Oh, we need to kind of hide the complexity and kind of make it completely opaque to the user. But I think in a very similar way to the internet, users are very much aware what websites they're using, what technology stacks they're using. Like they do understand that they're using the web, and there's links and all this other stuff. So I'm not sure that you will get away from this idea that chains are going to become invisible. I think actually the chains that try to become invisible will become irrelevant is probably the hot take here.
So I guess the limitation here maybe is that, Solana has been known for meme coin culture quite a bit over the last little while, and maybe some are suggesting that maybe is a limiting factor. Do you have a different opinion there?
So meme coins are assets with a lot of price and no value. So the benefit of having a strong meme coin community is that a lot of the really hard problems in microstructure and price discovery were solved like over the last year. And prop AMMs on Solana for USDC Sol pair have tighter spreads than Binance. And that blows my mind because to me, I thought we'll get there, but like 5 versions of Solana from now where we've fixed all these, engineering problems that are like bugging me,
Right.
or that we need to fix. But because we had this really rapid meme coin driven like demand for innovation to fix those structures, like, necessity is the mother of invention. People had to figure out how to make it work. And surprisingly, there was enough kind of tech and enough flexibility in the chain and program structure and stuff like that, that folks did a really, really amazing job. I mean, this has been like, I think probably the most innovative part of DeFi has been prop AMM innovation on Solana over the last year.
Awesome, man. Well, we're getting the nod from your people here. Really appreciate you hopping on with us today. Incredible what you've built, and we continue to be impressed with all the amazing things being built in the Solana community.
Amazing. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, sir.
Avas.
Metaplex. This clip brought to you by Metaplex. Launch tokens and NFTs on Solana and the SVM.